There's a disturbing reality that most consumers are completely unaware of. A massive portion of instant coffee sitting on supermarket shelves isn't actually pure coffee. Research indicates that over 70% of products sold contain significant adulterants. This means that jar you purchased believing it was genuine coffee might be filled with cheap substitutes like melted dextrin, hidden sugars, and extracts from questionable quality beans. Right now, there is a strong chance you have a product at home that doesn't match what the packaging promises. The instant coffee market generates billions annually, and the problem is that fraud is systematic. Labels are intentionally confusing, regulation is weak, and companies know exactly how to exploit consumer trust. Let me be direct about something that might upset you. That product you recently bought with claims like 100% coffee or premium coffee prominently displayed accompanied by images of roasted beans and mountain landscapes may not be what it seems. There's a considerable probability it contains ingredients like chicory, roasted barley, maltodextrin, added sugars, or even burned wheat bran. All these components are added to reduce costs while maintaining that characteristic dark brown color. But here's the worst part. These adulterated coffees aren't just stealing your money. They're affecting your energy, metabolism, and health. While you believe you're consuming coffee rich in antioxidants with natural caffeine that provides sustained energy, you're actually consuming a generic blend of fillers that lack any of those properties. The companies committing this fraud know it, do it consciously, and profit millions while you and your family pay the price. Today you're going to discover the complete truth. I'm going to reveal exactly which brands are on the blacklist of adulterated coffees. I'll give you specific names, brands you see every day at the supermarket, some you probably have in your pantry right now. We're going to discuss 7 specific brands that have been exposed by studies, laboratory analyses, and consumer reports. Some will surprise you, especially those marketed as gourmet or imported, but I won't just tell you what to avoid. I'll also teach you exactly how to identify authentic instant coffee using methods you can apply today. These are simple tests that experts use and that you can perform in your kitchen in less than 5 minutes. By the end of this guide, you'll have complete knowledge to never be deceived again. You'll know what to buy, where to buy it, how much you should really pay, and how to verify that what you bring home is the real product. Before diving into specific brands, you need to understand what authentic instant coffee really is. Real instant coffee is produced through 2 main methods: spray drying or freeze drying. In both cases, the process begins with real brewed coffee concentrate, which is then dehydrated to create the granules or crystals. Manufacturers take green coffee beans, roast them, grind them, prepare a highly concentrated brew, and then remove the water through one of these drying methods. What remains are coffee solids, those compounds that provide flavor, aroma, caffeine, and antioxidant properties. Quality instant coffee should contain 100% of these coffee solids, nothing more. Freeze-dried instant coffee is the premium method. Brewed coffee is rapidly frozen and then subjected to vacuum so the ice sublimates directly from solid to gas, leaving dry coffee crystals. This method better preserves the volatile compounds that provide aroma and flavor. The resulting crystals are larger, irregularly shaped, and when you dissolve them in hot water, the taste is noticeably superior. Spray-dried instant coffee is the most common and economical method. Concentrated coffee is sprayed into a chamber of very hot air where the droplets dry instantly, forming a fine powder. It's faster and cheaper, but the high heat degrades some aromatic compounds. The resulting powder is finer and more uniform, and while it can be legitimate coffee, the flavor is generally inferior to freeze-dried. This is where massive problems begin. Many brands add cheap fillers to increase volume and reduce costs. Common fillers include maltodextrin, which is a cheap processed carbohydrate, chicory, which is a roasted root with bitter flavor, roasted barley, dextrose, sugar, and in extreme cases burned wheat bran or caramel colorings to simulate coffee's color. When you buy a jar that simply says coffee beverage or soluble coffee without specifying 100% pure coffee or showing certifications, you're probably buying a blend. And when it costs significantly less than other brands, it's almost certain there are fillers. 1 kilogram of quality instant coffee requires approximately 2.5 to 3 kilograms of green coffee beans. Those beans must be cultivated, processed, roasted, brewed, concentrated, and dehydrated. That can't cost $2 or $3 for a large jar. It's physically impossible to produce it at that price, considering all the processing involved. Instant coffee fraud is endemic because it's easy to conceal. Unlike whole bean coffee where you can physically see what you're buying, instant coffee is already processed beyond recognition. You can't look at the granules and determine if they're 100% coffee or mixed with other things. They mix real instant coffee with maltodextrin, a cheap white powder derived from corn or wheat that adds volume without flavor. They can use only 40% real coffee and complete the rest with maltodextrin, reducing their costs by more than half. The average consumer doesn't notice the difference immediately because maltodextrin dissolves just like coffee and doesn't have a very strong flavor of its own. They use the lowest quality coffee beans possible, known as commercial grade Robusta or worse, defective beans that should never be used for human consumption. These beans may have mold, insects, or be incorrectly fermented. They roast them very dark to hide the defects and sell it as normal product. Technically it's coffee, but of deplorable quality. They add chicory, which can constitute up to 30 to 50% of the product in some brands without being clearly declared on the label. In some countries this is legal if it's in the fine print. In others, companies simply do it and hope not to get caught. They use coffee extracts instead of real coffee. These extracts can be low-grade byproducts or even synthetic compounds that mimic coffee flavor using chemicals. In 2018, an independent study in Latin America analyzed 50 popular instant coffee brands and found that 42% contained less than 60% real coffee. The rest was undeclared fillers. Another scandal in Asia in 2020 revealed that several major brands were mixing instant coffee with roasted barley and burned wheat, brand reaching 50-50 blends. Consumers had no idea because the color and texture were practically identical to real instant coffee. Let's start with Nescafé Classic. Not all Nescafé lines are bad. The brand has premium products that are acceptable, but the classic or tradition version sold in large economical jars in Latin American supermarkets is a completely different product. The problem is that Nestlé produces different qualities of the same product for different markets. The Nescafé you buy in Switzerland isn't the same as what you buy in Colombia or Mexico. The economical versions for developing markets use beans of significantly inferior quality. Consumer analyses found that Nescafé Classic has an excessively bitter and flat taste without the complex notes that real coffee should have. This suggests use of commercial-grade Robusta beans over roasted to hide defects. Laboratory tests have shown inconsistent caffeine levels between batches, indicating quality control problems. The most problematic aspect is that Nescafé leverages its brand recognition to sell mediocre product at prices that don't reflect the real quality. You're paying for the logo, not for the coffee. If you're going to buy Nescafé, look for their premium lines like Gold or Azera that use better quality Arabica beans, but the economical classic version is unworth your money. Great Value is Walmart's store brand, and the fundamental problem is that they're reproduced by the lowest bidder. Walmart seeks a supplier that can give them the cheapest possible price without caring much about quality. This creates a perverse incentive where quality is systematically sacrificed. Great Value can change suppliers every year or even every batch depending on who offers the best price. This means quality can vary dramatically between purchases. Independent chemical analyses found that Great Value has significantly lower caffeine levels than expected in 100% pure coffee, strongly suggesting the presence of fillers or substitutes. One jar may have 60 to 70 milligrams of caffeine per serving when it should have 80 to 100 milligrams. Consumers consistently report that Great Value doesn't taste like real coffee, has a wet cardboard flavor, and that you need to use double the product to get flavor. All these are classic signs of coffee adulterated with fillers. Colcafé is an iconic Colombian brand, and Colombia is synonymous with world-class coffee quality. But Colcafé has multiple product lines with very different qualities. The economical versions sold in large presentation bags or generic jars have been consistently criticized for using low-quality beans and possibly undeclared fillers. Sensory analyses describe these versions as extremely bitter with burned flavor and no pleasant aroma, characteristics indicating over-roasting to hide bean defects. What's deceptive is that Colcafé leverages the reputation of Colombian coffee to sell product that doesn't live up to that reputation. Dissolution tests also showed that some Colcafé versions leave significant residues at the bottom of the cup which shouldn't occur with 100% pure instant coffee. If you buy Colcafé, look for their premium lines, but the generic economical versions don't deserve your money. Maxwell House is an old American brand, but that history does untranslate to quality in their current instant coffee products. The brand has changed owners several times, and with each change quality has decreased. The main problem with Maxwell House Instant is massive inconsistency. Some jars have acceptable flavor, others are practically undrinkable. This suggests they're mixing batches from different origins without adequate control or adding different amounts of filler. Laboratory analyses have shown that Maxwell House has a chemical profile strongly suggesting the presence of chicory or roasted barley. Professional tasters described it as having cardboard notes, excessive bitterness, no balance, and lack of body. Additionally, Maxwell House is frequently sold in aggressive 2-for-1 promotions or with massive discounts, which should be a red flag. Quality instant coffee maintains its price because it has real value. Eagle, also known as Aguila, in Hispanic markets, is extremely popular in Latin communities, especially in Mexico and Central America. The problem is that Eagle has been exploiting generational brand loyalty without delivering proportional quality. Independent analyses found that Eagle has some of the lowest caffeine levels among all brands analyzed, strongly suggesting the product contains substantial fillers or is made with the cheapest coffee beans available. Eagle's flavor is notoriously flat and bitter. Many consumers report it tastes like dirty water, clear signs of low-quality product. What's most problematic is that Eagle specifically markets toward working-class families, taking advantage of consumers who can't afford more expensive options. Dissolution tests showed that Eagle leaves significant sediment and sometimes forms clumps that don't dissolve completely. If you're buying Eagle out of family tradition, you're doing yourself a disservice. There are better options at similar prices. Folgers is another classic American brand that has sacrificed quality for price over the years. Their instant coffee is particularly problematic because the company clearly prioritizes volume and margins over consumer experience. Folgers instant coffee has a reputation for being the last resort coffee in cheap hotels and offices with tight budgets. That reputation exists for a reason. Chemical analyses showed that Folgers Instant has a compound profile suggesting use of very low commercial-grade Robusta beans. Consumers consistently describe Folgers as tasting like dirty water, extremely bitter, and smelling bad even before brewing. Additionally, Folgers uses low-quality packaging that doesn't adequately protect the coffee from moisture and air, accelerating product degradation. The last brand on our blacklist represents dozens of similar brands you find in Latin stores and bodegas. Generic brands with names like Café Legal, Café Supremo, Café Campesino. They all have similar packaging with images of farmers and promises of authentic or traditional coffee. The problem is they frequently cheap import operations that buy the most economical instant coffee available from low-grade suppliers. They repackage it with attractive labels and sell it in communities that trust the authentic appearance. These brands have no transparency about coffee origin or processing methods. Manufacturer information is usually vague or non-existent. Consumer analyses found that many of these brands contain extremely high levels of fillers, possibly reaching 50% or more. Caffeine levels are consistently low and flavor is poor. What's most frustrating is that these brands specifically exploit the trust and nostalgia of immigrant communities. If you see an instant coffee brand you've never heard of that has no online presence and is only sold in small ethnic stores, proceed with extreme caution. You've seen the 7 brands you should avoid, but you're surely wondering how to identify authentic instant coffee. Instant coffee labels are designed to confuse. Terms like coffee, beverage, soluble coffee, coffee blend can mean you're not buying 100% pure coffee. This is the most revealing test you can do at home. Take a teaspoon of instant coffee and dissolve it in a transparent glass with hot water. Carefully observe the process. Authentic instant coffee dissolves completely in 30 to 60 seconds with gentle stirring, leaves no residue at the bottom, doesn't form clumps. Color is uniform, consistent dark brown, and there should be no visible particles after dissolving. Adulterated or low-quality coffee leaves residue that doesn't dissolve, forms clumps that persist even with vigorous stirring. Color may be irregular. There may be an oily or cloudy layer on the surface, and visible particles. If your coffee doesn't dissolve completely, it's a definitive sign it contains fillers. Open the coffee jar and smell deeply. Authentic instant coffee has rich, complex aroma of freshly roasted coffee, notes of chocolate, nuts, or caramel. Aroma should be strong and pleasant, should not smell of chemicals or mold. An aroma should persist even after reopening the jar. Adulterated or low-quality coffee has weak, barely perceptible smell, burnt smell without complexity, artificial chemical smell, or completely neutral smell, suggesting filler without aroma. If your instant coffee doesn't smell strongly of coffee when you open the jar, something is wrong. Real coffee has potent aromatic compounds that should be immediately evident. Prepare a cup using exactly the amount recommended on the label. Try it without sugar or milk. Authentic instant coffee has distinctive coffee flavor, bitter but balanced. Complex notes you can detect. Perceptible body, not watery. Clean aftertaste that persists, and pleasant bitterness. Adulterated or low-quality coffee has flat, one-dimensional flavor, harsh, unbalanced bitterness, watery consistency, chemical or artificial flavor, unpleasant metallic aftertaste, and you need to use double the product to get flavor. If your coffee tastes like dirty water or is so mild it seems flavorless, it's probably full of fillers. Drink a cup of your instant coffee in the morning on an empty stomach. Authentic instant coffee means you should feel caffeine effects in 15 to 30 minutes. Perceptible energy increase, greater mental alertness, and effects lasting 3 to 4 hours. Adulterated or low-quality coffee shows minimal effects. You don't feel the caffeine kick. You need to drink double to feel something, and effects disappear quickly. If you regularly drink 2 to 3 cups and still feel tired, the caffeine content is probably much lower than declared. Take a teaspoon of instant coffee and try to dissolve it in cold or room temperature water. Quality instant coffee dissolves partially even in cold water. May take longer but eventually dissolves with stirring. Adulterated coffee does undissolve at all in cold water and forms hard clumps that don't break apart. This test is useful because real instant coffee was designed to dissolve easily while cheap fillers don't have that property. Mount Hagen is a German brand that produces high-quality, organic instant coffee using the freeze-drying method. It's consistently ranked as one of the best options available. What makes Mount Hagen special is their total commitment to quality. They use exclusively single-origin organic Arabica beans from Papua New Guinea or Peru. They process them with extreme care and use freeze-drying to preserve aromatic compounds. The result is instant coffee that really tastes like coffee. It has body, aromatic complexity, and that clean aftertaste you expect. The crystals are large and irregular, characteristic of freeze-drying. Mount Hagen specifies the exact origin, processing method, and has verifiable organic certifications. The price is higher, generally between $15 to $18 for a 100-gram jar, but you're getting genuinely premium coffee. Mount Hagen is available in natural food stores, some premium supermarkets, and online. If you're going to drink instant coffee regularly, this is an investment that's completely worth it. Waka is a newer brand specialized exclusively in premium instant coffee. Unlike big brands that produce instant coffee as a secondary product, Waka only makes instant coffee, and they do it exceptionally well. What's distinctive about Waka is they use 100% Colombian Arabica beans, process them through low-temperature freeze-drying, and the result is instant coffee that could easily be confused with freshly brewed coffee in a blind tasting. Waka offers multiple options, including regular coffee, decaffeinated, and different roast intensities. All maintain the same quality standard. The crystals are large, golden brown, and dissolve instantly even in cold water. The company is completely transparent about their supply chain. You can trace the exact origin of the beans and verify all their certifications. The price is premium, between $12 to $22 per 100-gram bag depending on variety, but the flavor completely justifies the investment. Waka sells primarily online through their website and Amazon. Consumer reviews are consistently 4.5 to 5 stars, something practically unheard of for instant coffee. I know Starbucks is polarizing, but their Via Instant line is genuinely good and deserves recognition. Starbucks Via uses 100% Arabica beans, the same blends they use in their stores. They process the coffee through a proprietary micro-grinding method that better preserves oils and aromatic compounds. What makes Via particularly convenient is the individual packet format. Each packet contains exactly the right amount for a perfect cup, which eliminates the dosing problem and keeps each portion sealed until use, preserving freshness. VIA is available in multiple varieties, including Colombian, Italian roast, Pike Place roast, Veranda blend, and decaffeinated versions. The flavor is distinctively Starbucks, which means it's more roasted and bold, but it's consistent, has real body, and definitely tastes like authentic coffee. The price is reasonable, around $10 per box of 8 packets. VIA is widely available in supermarkets, Starbucks stores, pharmacies, and online. Accessibility is a huge advantage if you need quality instant coffee quickly. I'm returning to Nescafe, but specifically to their premium lines, including Gold Origins Sumatra, Gold Origins Colombia, Gold Organic, and Azira. These are completely different from the economical Nescafe Classic, Nescafe Gold. Origins uses single origin Arabica beans from specific regions and uses freeze-drying to preserve aromatic characteristics. The result is instant coffee that really reflects the Origins characteristics. Gold Origin Sumatra has that earthy, herbal, heavy-bodied profile you expect from Indonesian coffee. Gold Origins Colombia has the bright acidity and nutty notes characteristic of high-altitude Colombian coffee. You can really taste the difference. Nestle has the resources to maintain consistent quality control at massive scale. Once you find a Gold Origins line you like, you can trust that every jar will be practically identical. The packaging is superior with glass jars with hermetic seals that protect coffee from moisture and air. The price is in the mid-high range, $8 to $14 per 100-gram jar. It's more expensive than generic Nescafe, but significantly more accessible than Mount Hagen or Waka Nescafe. Gold is available in practically every supermarket worldwide, making it the most accessible quality option. Sudden Coffee is a San Francisco startup that's completely redefining what instant coffee can be. They're producing instant coffee at third-wave specialty coffee level. Sudden works directly with recognized specialty roasters. They buy single-origin coffees with high scores, 85+ on the SCA scale. They process them through advanced freeze-drying with extremely precise temperature control. Professional cuppers, competition baristas, and coffee experts have tried Sudden in blind tastings and confused it with fresh brewed coffee. It's that good. Sudden offers multiple rotating origins. You can buy Ethiopian coffee with blueberry and jasmine notes, Guatemalan coffee with chocolate and caramel notes, or Kenyan coffee with blackcurrant acidity. It's real specialty coffee in instant format. The format is individual packets with each making a perfect 8-ounce cup. The coffee comes in large freeze-dried crystals that look almost like golden flakes. When you dissolve them, the aroma released is indistinguishable from freshly brewed coffee. The price is the highest, around $3 to $4 per individual packet, or approximately $20 to $24 per box of 8 packets. This puts it at the price level of specialty coffee in premium cafes, but with the absolute convenience of instant. Sudden Coffee sells primarily by subscription online through their website, though it is also available in some specialized retailers. If you re the person who normally buys $18 to $22 per bag specialty coffee and prepares it with methods like pour-over or AeroPress but need an option for when you travel or are at the office, Sudden is the answer you've been looking for. Coffee is the second most consumed beverage in the world after water, and for many people it's an integral part of their daily routine. What you put in your body every day for years has an enormous cumulative impact on your health. Real coffee contains over 1,000 different bioactive compounds, many of which have powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Scientific studies have consistently demonstrated that moderate coffee consumption, 3 to 4 daily cups, is associated with up to 30% reduction in type 2 diabetes risk, protection against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, lower risk of certain cancer types, especially liver and colorectal, better cognitive function and mental alertness, liver protection against cirrhosis and fatty liver disease, reduced depression risk, and greater longevity in multiple long-term studies. But here's the critical point. These benefits come from real coffee with its bioactive compounds intact. When you buy instant coffee adulterated with fillers like maltodextrin, chicory, or roasted barley, you're not getting these protective compounds. Maltodextrin is essentially processed sugar that raises your blood glucose without providing nutrients. If you're drinking 3 to 4 daily cups of coffee that has 50% maltodextrin, you're consuming significant amounts of processed carbohydrates you don't need. Chicory and roasted barley aren't necessarily harmful, but they don't have coffee's beneficial compounds. You're paying for health benefits you're not receiving. Extremely low-quality coffee beans may contain higher levels of undesirable compounds like ochratoxin, which is a mold mycotoxin, or acrylamide formed during excessive roasting, both potentially harmful in high amounts. If you drink 2 to 3 cups of instant coffee daily, that is approximately 700 to 1,000 cups per year. If you're reusing adulterated coffee instead of real coffee, that is a massive difference in exposure to beneficial compounds versus worthless or potentially problematic fillers. The price difference between bad and good instant coffee may be $3 to $5 per jar. Over a complete year, we're talking about perhaps $50 difference. Is your health worth $50 per year? Of course it is. Additionally, quality coffee tastes better, which means you actually enjoy your morning ritual instead of just tolerating it. The psychological satisfaction of a good cup of coffee shouldn't be underestimated. You've made it to the end of this complete analysis, and that says a lot about your commitment to your health and making informed decisions. Most people simply grab the cheapest jar or whatever's on sale without thinking about what they're really buying. Now you have complete knowledge to identify authentic instant coffee. Avoid problematic brands that are robbing you and potentially harming your health, and choose products that truly deserve your money. Remember that coffee is something many of us consume multiple times daily for decades. Small purchasing decisions accumulated over years have an enormous impact on your health and long-term budget. If this information was useful, share it with your family, friends, and co-workers. Everyone deserves to know the truth about what they're buying and consuming. Together we can create pressure for the instant coffee industry to be more transparent and honest. Thank you for dedicating your time to educate yourself. Your health, your palate, and your wallet will thank you.